The moment I opened the door to meet the boy, I knew nothing about how deeply he would affect my life. He was taller than I expected, soaking wet from the rain, holding a black garbage bag that sagged heavily with his only belongings. There was a stillness in his eyes that suggested he'd seen too much, far too young. He didn't say anything at first, just stood there like he was preparing to be sent back before he even stepped in. My name is Gavin Parker, and before this all began, I was a 35-year-old widowed history teacher with no children and no real plan to ever raise one on my own. Life, however, doesn't usually consult us before throwing us a curveball. When Julie died suddenly from cardiac arrest, the silence in our home was deafening. The dreams we had of starting a family had died with her. At least, that's what I believed for a while. Still, something inside me kept pulling toward the idea of giving a home to a kid who didn't have one. I saw too many teens slipping through the cracks in school, smart, capable, but emotionally guarded. It didn't seem fair. So when the opportunity to foster presented itself, I said yes. That's how Shawn Murphy came into my life. He was a quiet kid, not shy, but reserved in a way that made you wonder what ghosts he was hiding from. When he arrived, he barely looked at me. When my caseworker Linda introduced us, he just grunted. He clutched his garbage bag tightly when I offered help, and I noticed the top corner of a photo peeking out from the zipper. It looked old and creased, like it had been folded and unfolded hundreds of times. Over time, I learned that the photograph was everything to him. It showed a young woman with dark hair and a brilliant smile, holding a laughing toddler, Shawn, I presumed. Every morning and night, he'd look at it, like it was the last thread connecting him to something real. I assumed it was just a bittersweet memory, a token from a childhood marked by loss. But then my sister saw the picture. Before I get to that moment, let me paint the picture of those first few months. Shawn didn't speak much. He followed rules, did his schoolwork, kept his room spotless, but the emotional wall stayed up. It was like trying to befriend a shadow. The only time I saw him soften was when he held that photograph. He'd whisper to it sometimes, and more than once I caught him with tears in his eyes, his lips moving silently. One night, about 3 weeks in, I heard him ransacking his room. I rushed in to find him pale and frantic. "I can't find it," he said, panicking. "The picture's gone." We searched until we found it wedged behind the mattress. He grabbed it with both hands and clutched it to his chest, whispering, "I thought I lost her." That night, for the first time, he opened up. He told me about his mom, how she sang to him, cooked pancakes in animal shapes, smelled like vanilla. "She left when I was 5, he said. "One day she was there, the next she wasn't. I kept thinking she'd come back." "You don't know what happened," I told him. "Maybe something went wrong. Maybe she's still out there." He nodded, but his eyes were full of disbelief. Hope is hard to hold when it's betrayed you more than once. Gradually, Shawn began to relax. He'd mention school events, crack subtle jokes, ask questions. He had a razor-sharp mind and a dry wit, but the trauma ran deep. Some nights, I'd hear him crying in his sleep, always clutching that photo like it was oxygen. For months after he moved in, he got into a fight at school and was suspended. He barely spoke on the way home. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "You're probably going to send me back." I pulled over and turned to face him. "You're not going anywhere," I told him. "You're family now." He looked at me like he wasn't sure whether to believe it. "Really? Really? And if you want to stay, if this feels like home, we can make it permanent." "You mean adoption?" "Yes," I said. "Exactly that." He nodded slowly, his eyes shimmering. "I'd want that. I'd really want that." A few weeks later, my sister Barbara came to visit. She's older than me and also a social worker based in Denver. After Julie died, Barbara had been my rock. When I told her about fostering, she backed me unconditionally. Barbara showed up that Friday with her usual whirlwind energy. She had a way of making everyone feel like they belonged. Shawn, surprisingly, took to her quickly. Over dinner, Barbara shared hilarious tales from work, and Shawn actually laughed. It was the first time I saw genuine light in him. Afterward, we all sat in the living room. Shawn went upstairs to work on a project, and Barbara and I stayed behind with coffee. "He's incredible, Gavin," she said. "You can see he's still hurting, but he's got so much heart." "He's been through a lot," I said. "But I think he's starting to believe this could be real." Any contact from his birth family. His father's unknown. His mom disappeared when he was 5. He has this photo of her. He cherishes it. But no contact since. "That's heartbreaking," she said. "Can I see the photo?" I'll ask him. I went upstairs. Shawn was at his desk, focused on his assignment. The photograph was leaned carefully against a lamp beside him. Barbara wanted to see the photo of your mom, I said. Is that okay? He hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, I guess that's okay. He handed it to me like it was made of glass. I took it downstairs and passed it to Barbara. Here she is, I said. Shawn's mom. Barbara took the photo, glanced at it casually, then froze. Her expression drained of color. She looked again, closer. Her eyes widened. Oh my God, she whispered. I know her. She didn't abandon him, she disappeared. And then she just stared, eyes locked on the picture, breathing shallowly, looking intently. I didn't need her to say anything more to know that something huge had just shifted. I watched her face closely as she studied the photograph. What had started as curiosity quickly turned into confusion, and then into something far more serious. Shock. Absolute, undeniable shock. Her hands trembled slightly, and I could see she was struggling to breathe evenly. Oh my God, Gavin, she whispered, eyes wide, voice so low I barely caught it. What? What is it? I asked, suddenly alarmed by how pale she'd become. I know her, Barbara said, barely blinking. This is Lisa. Lisa Brennan. She was my best friend in college. For years. We were practically glued together. I blinked. What do you mean you know her? I mean I know her, Barbara said again, staring at the picture like she might fall into it. We were roommates at Colorado State for all 4 years. She was one of the most important people in my life back then. We were inseparable. And Gavin, this is definitely her. Her words landed like a hammer. I felt like gravity shifted. The world wasn't the same anymore. But that's not possible. This picture is 10 years old. Shawn's mother. He said she abandoned him. Barbara shook her head. She didn't abandon him. Lisa didn't abandon anyone. She disappeared 10 years ago. I remember it clearly. She had a mental breakdown and vanished. Gavin, I've been trying to find her ever since. My heart dropped. Upstairs, Shawn was probably still working on his project, entirely unaware that his entire understanding of his life, his past, was unraveling downstairs. Tell me everything, I said, my voice hoarse. Barbara placed the photograph gently on the coffee table, as though it were sacred. Lisa was brilliant, she said slowly. She was majoring in psychology. She wanted to work with kids who'd gone through trauma. She was so kind, so smart. But she struggled a lot with anxiety and depression. Toward our senior year, things got worse. What happened after college? I asked. She went back home to take care of her mother, who was sick. We stayed in touch, but her messages got strange. She said people were following her, that her phone was tapped. She was clearly unraveling, but I didn't know how bad it really was. I was busy with grad school. I didn't see the signs. Barbara wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. The last time I heard from her was 10 years ago. She called me in the middle of the night, crying. She said she had done something terrible and had to disappear. She was convinced people were after her, that she wasn't safe. I begged her to tell me where she was, but she just kept apologizing and saying she loved me. Then the line went dead. That was it. I sat back, stunned. You filed a missing person report? Immediately. Hired a PI. I searched everywhere. It was like she vanished from the face of the earth. I looked at the picture, at Lisa's smile, her arms wrapped around a laughing toddler. Shawn. 10 years ago. It all lined up. Wait, I said, slowly piecing it together. Shawn was 5 when she left. Barbara nodded. The timeline fits. Gavin, I think Lisa had a full-blown psychotic break. She didn't leave because she didn't love him. She probably thought she was protecting him from some imagined danger. I sat in silence, struggling to absorb the weight of what she'd said. Shawn had believed for a decade that his mother didn't want him, that she'd abandoned him. And none of it was true. We have to find her, I said. I've been trying, Barbara replied. For 10 years. But now we have something we didn't have before. We have Shawn. Proof she had a child. That she was here in this area 10 years ago. That narrows things down. What do we tell him? Barbara glanced toward the ceiling. We could hear soft footsteps upstairs. Shawn, still awake, still entirely in the dark. We tell him the truth, she said after a long pause. He needs to know his mom didn't abandon him. That she was sick. That she might still be alive and still need help. What if we can't find her? What if she's? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But he deserves to know the truth. He deserves to know his mother loved him. That night, long after Barbara had gone to sleep in the guest room, I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the photo. I thought about Shawn, about how long he'd carried that image, believing it was all he had left of a woman who didn't want him. And now, it turned out the abandonment wasn't real. The pain was, but the story he'd told himself wasn't. The next morning, I knew what I had to do. He was in the kitchen eating cereal, reading a book, probably for English. When I said his name, he looked up instantly, sensing something serious in my tone. "Am I in trouble?" he asked. "No," I said gently. "But we need to talk. About your mom. About the photograph." His body stiffened. "What about it?" "Barbara recognized her," I said carefully. "Your mother. She knew her. In college." He stared at me like I was speaking another language. "She knew my mom?" "Yes. Her name is Lisa Brennan. And Shawn, there's something else you should know. Your mother didn't abandon you. She disappeared because she was very sick. She had a mental illness that made her believe she was in danger." I watched his face change, so many emotions all at once. Confusion, disbelief, hope, anger. "You're lying," he said, his voice breaking. "She left me. She left me." "No, Shawn. She didn't. Barbara told me all about her. She was kind. She wanted to help kids. She would never have left unless she truly believed it was the only way to protect you." Tears streamed down his face. "But she's been gone for 10 years. If she didn't want to leave me, why didn't she come back?" "Because she's still sick," I said softly. "And she probably didn't know how to find you. But Shawn, we're going to try. We're going to do everything we can to find her." He looked at me, scared. "What if she doesn't remember me?" "She will," I said. "A mother doesn't forget her child, even when her mind is sick. But what if she's not the same anymore? What if the sickness changed her? Then we love her anyway," I said, "and we help her get the treatment she needs." 5 weeks passed. Barbara worked tirelessly with one of her contacts, a social worker who specialized in locating missing persons with mental illness. Then one day, she called me, her voice shaking. "They found someone," she said. "A woman named Lisa Brennan. She's been living in a supervised group home for women with long-term psychiatric conditions. It's about 3 hours from here. Gavin, she's been asking about a little boy named Shawn. For 2 years. They thought it was part of her delusion. But now we know the truth." That night, I sat Shawn down and told him everything. He didn't speak. He just listened. "She's been looking for me, too?" he finally asked, his voice barely audible. "It sounds like it," I said. "But Shawn, we need to be ready. Your mom has been very sick for a long time." He didn't say anything right away, but in his eyes, I saw something I hadn't seen before, something fragile, but real. For the first time, "She might not be exactly the same woman you remember from when you were 5, I warned gently. "I don't care," Shawn said with fierce determination. "I just want to see her. I want to know she's okay." Barbara and I spent the next week making the arrangements. We coordinated everything with the group home. The director, Dr. Patricia Wells, spoke with us directly. She was a warm woman with a compassionate voice and an obvious understanding of complex emotional cases. "Lisa has been diagnosed with severe postpartum depression that developed into chronic psychosis," Dr. Wells explained during one of our calls. "She's been fairly stable for about a year now, but she still has intermittent paranoid episodes. She talks about her son often," she continued. "We honestly weren't sure if he was real or a part of her delusions." "He's very real," I told her, "and he's been holding on to her memory for 10 years. There was a pause. This is remarkable," Dr. Wells said with emotion. "She's going to be overjoyed. But we must take precautions. Too much emotional stimulation might overwhelm her." We agreed on a Saturday morning visit. The drive to Cedar Falls felt endless. For 3 hours, we sat in tense silence and sporadic questions. Shawn held that tattered photograph like it was a lifeline. One moment, he was buzzing with hope. The next, he was frozen with dread. "What if she doesn't recognize me?" he asked for what felt like the 100th time. "She'll recognize you," Barbara said from the back seat, her voice steady. "You look just like her." Willowbrook, the group home, was a small but inviting building surrounded by flower beds and tall trees. It didn't feel institutional. It felt like a place of healing. Dr. Wells met us in the parking lot, dressed in a soft gray cardigan and a calming smile. "Before we go in," she said gently, "I want to prepare you. Lisa has good days and bad days. Today is a good day. That's why we planned your visit now." She looked directly at Shawn. "She might seem different than what you remember. The medication helps, but it can also dull her emotions a little. Be patient with her." Shawn nodded, but I could see his hands trembling. She's in the common room. I told her someone special is coming to visit, but I didn't say who. I thought it would be more meaningful if she heard it from you. We followed Dr. Wells down a softly lit hallway lined with painted canvases and cheerful decor. The common room had oversized chairs, sunlight pouring in through the windows, and peaceful instrumental music playing in the background. And there she was, the woman from the photograph. Older, thinner. Her dark hair was now cut short and flecked with gray. Her posture had a slight stoop, and her hands rested on her lap with the stillness of someone who had known many hard days. But her face, her eyes, those features were unmistakably the same. The woman in the picture, Shawn's mother. She looked up when we entered, her gaze settling on Shawn like a magnet finding its match. She stared for a moment, wide-eyed, frozen. "Shawn?" she whispered, slowly rising to her feet. "My Shawn? Is that really you?" Shawn couldn't speak. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. He clutched the photograph tightly, tears already spilling down his cheeks. "Oh my God," Lisa said, her voice cracking as she took unsteady steps toward him. "You're so big, so grown up. I've missed you, baby. I've missed you every single day." She reached out slowly, as though afraid to break the moment. Her hand touched his cheek. "You're real," she whispered. "You're really here." "Mom," Shawn finally said, the word collapsing into a sob. I thought you didn't want me anymore." Lisa pulled him into her arms, holding him tightly. "Oh, sweetheart, I never stopped wanting you. I never stopped loving you. I was so sick. I was scared. I thought I was keeping you safe." They stood there, holding each other, crying. It was the most human moment I had ever witnessed. 10 years of pain being washed away by contact. "I kept your picture," Shawn said, showing it to her. "I looked at it every single day." Lisa took it with trembling hands and stared at it for a long moment. "I remember this day," she said, her eyes bright with tears. "We were at the park. You'd just gone down the big slide for the first time." "I remember that too," Shawn said. "And the swings. You used to push me." Lisa smiled. "I remember everything. Your favorite bedtime story. Your dinosaur-shaped pancakes. The way you sang in the bathtub. I didn't forget any of it." Barbara stepped closer, and Lisa turned toward her. Her brows drew together for a moment. Then her eyes lit up. "Barbara," she said, stunned. "Is that you?" "Hi, Lisa," Barbara said, smiling through her own tears. "I've been looking for you for 10 years." Lisa took her hand. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought people were trying to hurt Shawn. I thought staying away was the only way to protect him." "It's okay," Barbara said. "You were sick. No one blames you for that." For the next 2 hours, we sat together in that sunlit room, assembling the scattered puzzle pieces of the last 10 years. Lisa explained how the symptoms had crept in slowly after Shawn's birth, how she had hidden them, how, when things finally snapped, her mind convinced her she had to disappear to keep him safe. "I thought if I left, they'd leave him alone," she said. "I thought I could get better and come back. But I never imagined it would take so long." "But you did get better," Shawn said. Lisa smiled gently. "I'm better now, sweetie. But this illness, it never really goes away. I'll always need help. I'll always be managing it." "That's okay," Shawn said firmly. "I don't care. I just want you back in my life." Dr. Wells had been sitting quietly in the corner, giving space while still watching over the situation. Now, she stepped forward. "This has been incredible," she said softly. "But I think it's time to wrap things up for today. We don't want Lisa to get overwhelmed." "Can I come back?" Shawn asked quickly. "Can I visit again?" "Of course," Dr. Wells smiled. "We'll arrange regular visits." "Lisa, how does that sound?" "I'd love that more than anything," Lisa said, gripping Shawn's hands. "But Shawn, I need you to understand something. I can't be the same kind of mom I used to be. I'm still learning how to take care of myself." "I know," Shawn said. "I have Gavin now. He's going to adopt me. But I still want you too. I want both of you." Lisa looked at me, truly seeing me for the first time, and her eyes welled up. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for loving my son, for taking care of him. Thank you for raising such a good kid," I replied. As we stood to leave, Lisa pulled Shawn into one last embrace. "I love you," she said into his ear. "I never stopped. Not for a single day." "I love you too, Mom," Shawn said. "And I'll be back. We're going to be a family again. Just a different kind of family." The drive home was quieter than the ride there, but this time, it wasn't silence from fear. It was quiet reflection. After a while, Shawn spoke. She's different. Yes, I said. She is. I feel sad. But also relieved, he said. I spent so many years thinking she left because I wasn't enough. Because she didn't love me. He looked out the window, a calm look on his face. But now I know that's not true. It was never true, Barbara said gently from the back seat. Your mother loves you more than anything in the world. She always has. In the months that followed, we built a routine. Every other weekend, we visited Lisa. Shawn would talk to her about school, his friends, and life at home with me. Lisa, in turn, shared stories from her youth, taught him card games, and little by little, they began to rebuild something that had once seemed lost forever. It wasn't the same kind of mother-son bond they'd had 10 years ago. Lisa wasn't able to be the full-time parent Shawn once needed, and Shawn had to come to terms with the fact that his mom would always be living with her illness. But even with those limits, what they had was something real, something beautiful, a connection rooted in love, compassion, and acceptance, not duty or expectation. 6 months after that first emotional reunion in Cedar Falls, I officially adopted Shawn. Lisa was granted a day pass to attend the hearing, and she sat proudly in the front row, tears running down her cheeks as the judge finalized the paperwork. I'm so proud of you both, she told us afterward. Shawn, you found yourself an incredible father. And Gavin, thank you. Thank you for giving my son the life I couldn't. We're a family now, all of us. You, me, Shawn, Barbara. We'll take care of one another. A year later, Lisa had progressed enough in her recovery to move into a supervised apartment program. She couldn't live entirely on her own, but she had more independence, privacy, and a space to call her own. Shawn helped her decorate the apartment, hanging up curtains and picking out pillows. On her nightstand, Lisa placed that same worn photograph, just as Shawn had done for years. You know what's funny? Shawn said to me one night as we drove home from a visit. What? I used to think that photo was all I had left of her, he said, his voice soft. But it turns out it was just the beginning. What do you mean? I spent so long staring at it, trying to remember what it felt like to be loved by her. But now I don't have to remember. I get to feel it again, every time I see her. As I write this, Shawn is 17 years old and thriving. He's an honor student. He has a solid group of friends and has even started dating a girl from his chemistry class. He visits Lisa regularly, and their bond continues to grow in depth and warmth. Lisa still battles her illness, and there are hard days. Days where paranoia creeps back in or her energy wanes. But now she's surrounded by people who understand her, who support her, who see her not as her diagnosis, but as a person worth loving. She has her son back. She has Barbara's unwavering friendship. And she has a care team that sees her as more than a patient. They see her as a mother, a friend, a person reclaiming her life. Barbara often says that finding Lisa felt like solving a puzzle we'd been missing pieces to for a decade. But I see it as something even bigger. To me, it was about realizing that family isn't always neat or traditional. Sometimes it's messy and broken and still so incredibly powerful. Shawn's story began with heartbreak, with confusion, with a belief that he was unlovable. But it became a story of connection, of truth, and of healing. He learned that his mother didn't leave him because he wasn't enough. She left because she was sick, because she truly believed that by doing so, she was keeping him safe. And I learned something too, that sometimes the most powerful families aren't the ones we're born into. They're the ones we choose. The ones we build out of love, out of resilience, and out of the belief that no one is beyond redemption. That every person deserves a second chance. That every soul deserves to belong. That photograph still sits on Shawn's nightstand. But now it's surrounded by new ones. Pictures from family dinners, birthdays, graduations, lazy Sundays. Moments big and small. Proof of a life rebuilt. Proof that healing is possible. Proof that love remains. We didn't just find Lisa. We found each other. And from something once broken, we created something whole. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that love can truly overcome even the darkest moments, we hope you'll take a moment to reflect on the people in your life. And if you'd like to hear more real stories of hope, healing, and the strength of the human spirit, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss an upload.